Of all the mistakes made by men, the failure to recognize God's will is undoubtedly the saddest and the greatest. Continuing on with the Heliotropium by Jeremiah Druxilius. But it may be objected, if this is the case, if the will of God is the origin of all evils, why do we strive against it? Why do we attack disease with medicines? Why do we post armed battalions to the enemy? Why do we not at once open our gates and welcome destruction within our walls? Why do we not follow the example of the most holy Bishop Lupus and address all our misfortunes in the same words as he did to Attila? Welcome, thou flail of God. It is good, my friend, not to be wiser than we ought, but to think soberly. Romans 12:3. The war and deaths of all kinds are from God. It is clear enough. But the conclusion drawn from this, that therefore we must not resist an enemy and must not grapple with disease, is bad. For the will of sign, volatus signi, I use the language of theologians, is one thing, and the will of good pleasure, volatus beneplaciti, is another. Now concerning the will of sign, made known to us by laws, it is sufficiently clear for the most part, but concerning the will of good pleasure, it is not so, and we cannot at once tell how far it extends. But more on this further on. For the present, let us take disease as an example. From whatever cause it arises, without the smallest doubt, it proceeds from the divine will. Since, however, the sick man does not know how long God wills that he should be afflicted with sickness, he may very properly strive against it, and use any lawful remedy for recovering his health. But when he has tried all remedies and has made no progress, nor recovered his health, let him feel fully persuaded that it is the divine will, that he should be afflicted with a still more grievous and protracted sickness. This is the right way, then, to reason. God wills that you, my sick friend, should be ill, but because you know not whether he also wills that you should never be cured, you may, for that reason, lawfully use remedies. If, however, he wills that the disease should continue, he will withdraw all efficacy from the medicines, so that you may not be cured. And the same is to be said about enemies. God often willed that the children of Israel should be attacked, lest they should fall into sluggish ways. But as long as it did not appear that he willed that they should also be overcome, so long might they resist the enemy. It would have been otherwise if God had warned them, as he did by the prophet Jeremiah, that they should surrender themselves as servants to King Nabuchodonosor. In the same way, too, if a fire which has broken out cannot be extinguished by any amount of labor, it is a plain proof that God willed not merely that the house should catch fire, but that it should be burnt down, either to try his friends or punish his enemies. And the same is to be observed in all other cases. This again, as it sometimes happens, that a father puts a wooden sword into his son's hand and says, "Come, my boy, defend yourself against me. Let us see the progress you have made with your fencing master." In this case, it is not the son who is opposed to his father, but the fencer to an adversary. And just in the same way, when any one desires that a fire should be extinguished, or an enemy destroyed, or a disease subdued, he does not resist the divine will, which approves the punishment, but the guilt which God hates. Remember, when we use the word guilt, what we are talking about is the cause of the punishment. For a house to set on fire, either to inflict an injury or from envy. To resist guilt of this kind is permitted to everyone. And so he who tries to drive away disease constitutes himself an adversary, not of the divine will, but of the human offense, that which caused the punishment in the first place. For there is scarcely any disease which has not been occasioned by some intemperance in living. Whoever then grapples with disease does not strive against God, but against intemperance, or certainly against its result. So also he who resists an enemy with arms does not make himself an adversary of the divine will, but of him who has begun the unjust war. In such cases as this, it is by no means forbidden to defend oneself and one's goods, unless on other grounds it appears that the defense will be displeasing to God. But why should it be thought strange that divine providence and justice should use wicked men as its instruments, when even devils themselves fulfill this office? It happens, says St. Gregory, by a wonderful dispensation of piety, that through the very means by which the malignant enemy tempts the heart in order to destroy it, the merciful Creator disciplines it that it may live. It is said of Saul, the day after the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, 1 Kings 18:10. But how could the spirit be evil if it is from God? How could it be of God if it was evil? And this the same history explains when it says, an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him, 1 Kings 16:14. It was an evil spirit in consequence of the desire of his own perverse will, but it was a spirit of the Lord, because sent from the Lord to torment him. St. Augustine, Bishop of Hippo, throws much light on this, nor will it be amiss to quote his words at length. What is right in heart? He inquires, not resisting God. Attend, my beloved, and understand the right heart. I speak briefly, but yet a thing of all the most to be commended. Between a right heart and a heart not right, there is this difference. Whatever man, let him suffer what he may against his will. Afflictions, sorrows, labors, humiliations, attributeth them not, but to the just will of God. Let this be well observed, not charging him with foolishness, as though he knoweth not what he doth. Because he scourges such a one and spareth another, he indeed is right in heart. But preserve in heart and froward. And distorted are they who, whatever evils they suffer, say that they suffer them unjustly, charging him with injustice, through whose will they suffer. Or because they dare not charge him with injustice, take from him his government. Because God saith, one cannot do injustice, but it is unjust that I suffer. And such another suffer not. For I grant that I am a sinner, and yet surely there are some worse who rejoice, while I suffer tribulation, because then this is unjust, that even some worse than I should rejoice, while I suffer tribulation, who am either just or less a sinner than they? And it is certain unto me that this is unjust, and it is certain unto me that God doth not injustice. Therefore God governeth not the things of men, nor there any care for us with him. They then who are not right in heart, that is, who are distorted in heart, have three conclusions. Either there is no God, for the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Psalms 13:1. Or God is unjust. Who is pleased by these things, and who doeth these things? Or God governeth not human things, and there is no care for all men with him. In these three conclusions there is great impiety. And then a little further on, the same Father continues, so that is the right heart, brethren. Let every man to whomsoever anything happens say, the Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Job 1:21. Lo, this is a right heart. As it hath pleased the Lord, so it is done. Blessed be the name of the Lord. He said not, the Lord gave, and the devil hath taken away. Attend therefore, beloved, lest haply you should say, the devil did this for me. Unto thy God alone refer thy scourge, for not even the devil doth anything against thee, unless he permit, who hath power above, either for punishment or for discipline, for the punishment of the ungodly, for the discipline of his sons. For he scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. Hebrews 12:6. Neither must thou hope to be without a scourge, unless happily thou wish to be disinherited. For he scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. What? Every son? Where then wouldst thou hide thyself? Every one, and none will be exempted. None without a scourge. What? Even to all? Would you hear how truly he saith all? Even the only begotten, without sin, was yet not without a scourge. This is indeed a noble piece of instruction, and thoroughly worthy of Augustine. But since, according to that father's meaning, neither devil nor man has power against anyone except by the permission of God, I must now briefly mention what sort of things God permits, for what reason, and on what grounds he permits them.